Hi Pat, you're up here in Mission Control.
Mission Control here at Superbooth. Yeah, we were lucky enough to get this this space room for our Ondomo. Yeah, we've had a lot of people putting on headsets and being cosmonauts around here. So
yeah, it's an amazing facility. So
yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what's going on here. I mean, this is a really beautiful handmade instrument.
It is indeed, yeah, handmade in Tokyo, Japan, and the inventor Naoyuki Omo puts together the wood. He does all of the soldering by hand. He puts it all together, and his passion for this instrument, the original Ondes Martenot, has been a 17-year project. So doing research with Ondes from around the world and reverse engineering some of the features that Martenot spent his whole lifetime trying to develop into this very early electronic instrument that's in the same family tree as, say, a theremin or a trautonium here in Germany. A lot of people are familiar with that. And yeah, so the three features that really make it unique, of course, the ring is very identifiable with the instrument. And it gives you continuous control over pitch.
It sort of makes you wonder why there's actually a keyboard on it, really, doesn't it?
Well, in fact, the first model didn't have a keyboard, and that was originally, when the keyboard came on, it was just a painted dummy to give you something to line your finger up with on the keyboard so that you knew what note you're playing. So unlike a theremin where you're sort of playing with the air, you could see, okay, I'm at a D here, and I'm going up to a C.
So is that actually all handled by the kind of position of the string, effectively?
It is indeed. There's two rotary encoders on either side that are taking a look at where the string's position is and using that to supply control voltage to the oscillators.
So I guess that's an advancement in technology that makes it more accurate, right?
It absolutely does. It's the only digital element of this is actually.
So I can imagine, in the old ones you would have to like tie knots in it and.
Absolutely, you can see some of them.
Calibrated.
We call it the ruban or the bag because originally it was a ribbon. It was a ribbon to give enough traction so that you could move it around. So yeah, so that gives us a little bit more control. The second model that had a keyboard, it wasn't movable, but this last model that Martenot worked on, he was a cellist, so he wanted to have something really expressive. We can play.
Come around here because I can see we've got the control box.
Yeah, yeah. This is the tiroir where all the magic happens. So.
So the keyboard itself is actually kind of moving.
Yeah, the keyboard has lateral vibrato. It can move left and right to impart that sort of natural expressiveness.
It seems like that's actually a very narrow, I mean, because you see people playing keyboards and trying to do that.
Absolutely.
Keyboards that don't do it. You know,
and I'm guilty of that. As soon as I get on a keyboard now, my hands are wiggling. And so it's interesting with the advent of all the MPE stuff, the Hacking Continuum, and I've got some other products from the Roller keyboard and things like that. We're back in that sort of mode, sort of interesting almost 100 years later of trying to have as much expression.
It's bizarre, isn't it? Yeah, and this seemed to work. So tell me a little bit about, because these electronics look distinctly 21st century.
Exactly,
right?
yeah. So to sort of get everything into a smaller form factor and to make it nice and light and portable, I'll show you what it packs up to in a minute. We sort of shrunk in all the components here. So we have four level controls. So the internal speaker is on the back of the unit, so you can really just take it with you. You don't have to necessarily bring an amp and just basically plug and play. And then we have a powered amp output for speakers like the original diffusers, the famous Martenot palm diffuser with 12 strings tuned to the chromatic. And the gong, the metallic, exactly. So we have an output for that. We're in the process of trying to get those instruments or those diffusers produced as well. We want to have a palm diffuser for next year, and EOWave also makes a metallic, and we'd like them to bring it back because they did such a fantastic job. But we may work with them.
It's piezo, isn't it? It's some sort of piezo.
Well, yeah, it's the driver is right up against the gong to do the resonance. It's really really incredible the sound that comes out of it. And then we have two line outputs. So like what we're listening to is going through a reverb. And again, it gives the instrumentalist some chance to control, okay, I want to maybe put a little bit more reverb for this passage and then make it dry without having to bug the sound guy to say, okay, halfway through the
so
song.
You just have dual parts.
Just have these little sliders to control them.
And this kind of Perspex block,
Yeah, it's just it was just an aesthetic choice to give you a look at sort of what's going on behind the scenes.
So that block is the actual,
oh, this block, yeah, sorry, yeah.
right?
So this is the touche d'intensité. This is the touch that is the heart of the instrument. I can play the keys all day and move this back and forth, and it won't do anything until I bring the instrument to life. And so it gives everything from a very quiet whisper up to a full fortissimo.
Are there different voicings?
Pretty much, yeah. So the voicings we have different timbres that we use. So we have a sine wave that has a couple of them have control. So this sine wave allows you to introduce the second harmonic, that first overtone, with the slider, and then we have a sine to square wave one as well, where you can get everything in between.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, in these days where there's all sorts of wave shaping and stuff, and
absolutely,
just that basic transition between two waves and the expression is
it can be
quite
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely brilliant. And so there's another couple ones in there, but basically between that and the idea of a reverberation of whatever room you're in, you can sort of get those rich timbres. So no pulse width modulation, unfortunately.
Are there any, just because I guess, given the size of electronics, you could actually put more synthesizer functions in there and increase the voicings if you so wished. Right?
Yeah. So one of the interesting things, after Martenot passed away rather unexpectedly, the digital era had sort of begun, and so there was a student model produced, and I believe that was the first one that Johnny Greenwood picked up. And it's digital, and it actually allows you to effectively choose chords that you can play with the ring, but it's one of those ideas that maybe sounds better than it ends up being. I've hooked this up through an expert sleepers module to do pitch and envelope detection.
Oh, have we got is there CV out on this?
On this model there isn't, but we're working very hard to convince especially here at Superbooth, to convince the inventor that needs to happen for the next revision. But I've sort of cheated with Andrew's brilliant disting to do the conversion of this sound into CV, and then I've hooked it up to a bunch of different oscillators and tried to do that experiment of what would it sound like with 6 voices or something like that.
But you can add expression to other.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it would make sense to have a CV out and an expression out, because then you could.
That's what we feel. Absolutely, but
this thing looks very beautiful. I mean, it's obviously hand built, made.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guessing if you're looking for something cheap and kind of economically, cheap, I suppose.
Yeah.
Then maybe this isn't the instrument for you. I'm guessing it has a price tag that reflects the quality of the instrument.
Well, it's interesting you say that. So the inventor shares Martenot's vision of trying to make the instrument. He always was trying to make the instrument more accessible and more affordable. And when the Martenot disappeared off the market and became unobtainable, the students weren't able to pick one up, which meant that the teachers had no instrument for the students to learn on, which meant that they closed the school. I know in Montreal we closed our school, and that was kind of tragic. So Naoyuki's vision was always to try to make this affordable. So it might surprise you to find out that this hand-built analog instrument is €2,000.
Okay, it's not insignificant, but it's less than I thought it would be.
And that's exactly what we were sort of looking for. It's never going to be, because of the wood and everything, it's never going to be a 500-pound instrument, unfortunately. But this is something that if you were a school that was interested in the history of electronic instruments, or if you're just an enthusiast like myself, you can save away for it and have it. And because it is a true instrument, it's going to be with you for a while. It's not a module of the month that you're going to put in your rack and then take out. It really takes some time to develop the technique of the ring and the keyboard and the touche d'intensité.
And where can people actually, if they are interested in these, where can they pick them up? Where can they order them from?
So you can find out all the information on ondomo.net. Our first initial production run of 100 units has been overwhelmingly positive response has meant that that's over. So we're taking names for the list for the next batch that we'll be producing. And again, if you're interested in CV outs, which I know I certainly am, and a lot of people here at Superbooth are, drop an email and just mention that that's a feature that you're interested in having, because I know it's certainly it would expand the capabilities of it for such a nice portable instrument. And you can see behind you what it folds down to when you're ready to take it to the gig. it's so much lighter compared to what we're used to with Ondes Martenot, where you need a helper to help you, you know, sort of install your gig. So
that's lovely. I mean, I'm guessing it hasn't got the legs in there, right?
no, the legs come in a little sack that you can just pop on your back, so almost like a yoga mat case. So.
Thank you. Perhaps you could play me out with some haunting melodies. For
Yeah,
Saturday
for
morning,
sure.
and we'll say goodbye.
All right. Thank you very much.